Hello, everybody, and today in Clone Stories, we will be doing What If Izuku Midoriya was had the powers of Lugia, Part 1. This will be a female Izuka, as you would imagine, because of the current photograph in front of you. And yeah, that will be it, and we will go on to the video. Thank you for watching the intro, and hopefully subscribing and or liking this video. If you haven't, please do. It would be very much appreciated to the growth of this channel. So yeah, this is Clone Stories. Onto the video. Okay, everybody. So, after that good intro, we start this video off when Izuka was around 2 years old. She had finally met her mother after 2 years in the foster care system, have being dropped off originally around 3 months after birth because their mother could not support her. So, when she finally met her mother, she had white hair and great, beautiful eyes. And Inko thought, I will protect you with all I can. As Izuka was very much spoiled. But she didn't hate this, but she was still quite happy with her couple of friends in their daycare. Her mother had around 2 to 3 jobs. Around, I'll say, because one was like they would do it every so often. So, when Izuka was 4 years old, she met a boy in class in her new preschool of her first year. She met this new kid called Katsuki Bakugo, who actually turned out to be their neighbor, which she never knew because she never interacted with them. So, Izuka started talking to him a lot, and Katsuki, most of the time, stuttered around her, and Izuka thought, why does he always do that? As his face would get red as a tomato. As Izuka one time had questioned this to him, but he just scurried away quickly. One day, when Izuka went over to him, and he said, "Look, Izuka, I have my quirk." As he started making little explosions in his hand, as Izuka says, "Oh, that's cool." As she walked away, and Bakugo is just shattered, like, that's cool? Is that it? All the other kids love it so much. As Izuka's like, it's fine. It's not that incredible. It's explosions in your hand, right? That's pretty cool. But it's nothing special. As Katsuki says, oh, okay. As the next day, Izuka came to school and showed off her quirk. As they're like, oh, what's your quirk, Izuka? As they see a tail spread out from her back. As her hands then turn into big, what looks like gloves to the children. And they say, oh, that's cool. What can you do with it? As Izuka says, well, as she throws both of her arms to her back and sends them both at each other, making a clap motion. It sends a massive gust of wind, trashing most of the classroom. As the teacher just says, everyone go out to recess, as they all go out, as the teacher starts cleaning up the classroom. As Katsuki says, I, Katsuki Bakugo, challenge you, Izuka Midoriya, to a battle As Izuka says, no thanks. As he's like, you have to though. As Izuka says, why do I? As Katsuki just gets mad and says, just do, okay? I want to prove that I'm stronger than you and my quirk is better. As Izuka says, okay. As they both get in fighting stances, as Izuka just says, so how do we win? As Katsuki says, first one to pass out. As Izuka gets serious, is like, okay. As one of the older kids says, 3, 2, 1, go. As Izuka immediately blitzes him to the side. As Katsuki says, how are you so fast? He gets smacked on the face from Izuka as he makes an explosion in her face. This is very serious 5-year-olds. As Izuka quickly ducks under his explosion and uppercuts him into the air, and then slaps him down with the tail and keeps him in place with both of her hands and says, is that it? As the judge says, no, he has to be unconscious. As she says, I'm sorry about this. As she lifts her hand up. As Katsuki says, no, I give up. As she's like, smart move. As she walks away. As the judge says, Katsuki, why do you give up? I thought you were confident you could beat her. As Katsuki says, she's stronger than me. That's bad. The one person I like. Of course, they're the person stronger than me. As, yeah, that he kinda had just like a Uraraka type crush towards her. And, she, like, in the main story, Uraraka gets all, like, pink and red because she's blushed and embarrassed, stuff like that. So, he's like that towards Izuka. So, Izuka, the next couple of years, got closer with Katsuki, and they began a friendship, and they were quite nice towards each other. But Izuka was definitely smarter than him, as much as he tried to beat her in something. One time during 6th grade, in their PE unit, they had volleyball. And during a random flashback, Izuka was hit a set by one of her classmates, as Izuka spiked it onto the face of Katsuki, leaving a bruise on his eye. Kind of like Todoroki's, but not as big. As Izuka spikes it onto his eye, as Katsuki quickly falls to the ground, as she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Katsuki. As she runs over to him, as she picks him up and goes over to the infirmary and drops him off there. And it never healed. Well, it healed enough to where there was no bleeding or anything, or pain. There's still a little pain, but yeah, that's it, basically. And yeah, it was kind of like Zuko's from Avatar, or Todoroki's. So yeah, Izuka felt immense guilt for a couple years, until finally on the last day of school, once they'd gone through the entire day, Katsuki led her outside and told her, I want to have one last fight before we start training. You and me. I want us to fight to see who's stronger going into the exams of UA. As Izuka says, whatever, Katsuki. As she gets in battle stance, as Bakugo says, go. As he immediately jumps over to her, as Izuka just puts her hand back and swats him into the ground. As he's like, dang it, as he makes a massive explosion in front of her, sending her back, and says, I won't be defeated that easy. As Izuka says, oh really? As she turned out to be behind him and put him in a chokehold, as Katsuki says, how is your grip so tight? As he can't get out of the hold at all, and eventually sits there and tries to get out with his quirk of exploding in her face, and he eventually passes out with lack of air. Around a minute later, as Izuka gets up and says, that was hard. Didn't think he'd be so strong. He's grown a lot. He's definitely tried to train to beat me. Natural talent. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Izuka was very smart. Maybe I'm like, maybe a little less smart than Bombo, but she's the smartest. So yeah. So Izuka started doing 10 months of training, developing more and more wind powers, and yeah, that's basically all she did. She trained both her arms and her tail to be stronger, better grip, and to produce more wind when she used them. And she did study a little bit also. So yeah. After 10 months, Izuka finally walked over to the UA high school and looked over to the entrance and said, this is it. This is what we've been working towards. As she walks over to the school and says, this is the journey. Starting now. And that's what we'll be leaving off, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is Clone Stories signing off. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, this is female Izuka. Keep that in mind. So yeah, this is Clone Stories signing off. Like and subscribe. And once again, bye.